We continue to recap, if you missed it, Ace Magashule out today on bail of 200,000 rand. And Karima, I want to start with you. Tula Sizwe and I were reflecting on the fact that what we've seen today is very similar to the playbook of 15 years ago when Jacob Zuma went through his first charges and appearances in court, and the claims again of infiltration of the ANC, spies collaborating against the organization. Where is the proof, some of us would ask?
Well, I think, Tembekile, the important lesson to learn from this is that Ace Magashule is certainly borrowing a page from the 2005 playbook of Jacob Zuma for this reason. When Schabir Shaik was found guilty and Jacob Zuma was eventually charged, the then Deputy President of the African National Congress, Mr. Zuma, stepped down. And what he did was he used the National General Council of the ANC, which was held in Tshwane in 2005, to reinstate him. And I was reminded of this instance when Mr. Magashule said outside of the court after his appearance that it is only branches that can ask me to step aside. Now, the only occasion where you can bring branches together before a national elective conference again is in a National General Council. Now, as you know, that is an outstanding event that is meant to happen in the ANC. It is the only event that has very serious powers. It is normally a way to look at whether the ANC has implemented the conference resolutions, of NASREC. So it's a mid-term, if you like, evaluation of progress. And that is certainly what Jacob Zuma did, because even though Thabo Mbeki sacked Jacob Zuma as Deputy President of South Africa, the members of the ANC at that NGC asked Jacob Zuma to come back. And that was the beginning, of course, of his campaign to dislodge Thabo Mbeki from the state. But here's the thing. It is 2020. It is not 2005. There is no ANC Youth League to speak of. The Labour Federation, COSATU, isn't behind Magashule. Neither is the South African Communist Party. There's no Youth League. There's virtually no Women's League. So how Ace Magashule thinks he can borrow from that playbook successfully depends on what he can use to muster support. And quite frankly, Tembekile, those structures do not have the kind of muscle that they had 15 years ago.
You've touched on it slightly, Karima, the power balance in the ANC currently. The NGC, Ace Magashule, was saying the leadership has decided will take place in May next year. There will likely be many more body blows on the road to that. I'm wondering what you think about the shift possibly in the power dynamic ahead of that conference in the next 7 months.
You know what is really interesting? I covered the Jacob Zuma trials from the beginning, the rape trial, the corruption trial. And what is interesting was that you never had ANC comrades outside the court saying that Jacob Zuma must go to jail and that he must answer. Today, and in fact in the build-up to Ace Magashule coming to the court in Bloemfontein in Mangaung, you actually had ANC members, detractors of Mr. Magashule, saying that they want him to be held accountable. You had civil society organizations, small but vocal, wearing the orange sign with orange masks. Now, it was very interesting for me when President Ramaphosa addressed the nation a few days ago about the lockdown regulations. He wore an orange tie. And the symbolism is actually quite interesting because there is an entire group of society that has rallied behind attempts to clean up the state and to fight state capture. And I think that is one of the key differences. You also have, a split organization. There is no denying that this organization is rent down the middle. And this balance of forces, Tembekile, is going to move from time to time. But as things stand now, I don't think Ace Magashule has the upper hand on the forces that is determined to hold senior ANC leaders accountable for corruption. You had members of the public in the Free State saying that they have suffered at the hands of Mr. Magashule. And then, of course, this reminds me so much of the Shabir trial. Just like in the Shabir Sheikh trial, his secretary turned against him. Here, Mr. Magashule's PA, who's sitting in the US, stands a state witness. So beware how you treat your PA, Tembekile.
Thank goodness I don't have one, Karima, at this stage. It seems safer to not appoint one. Lukona, Karima made the point about the ordinary people. We make sense of the dynamics, of course, in the ANC to do with the personalities in the top 6 often and what's in it for them at the various points, right? But you have to wonder then about the ordinary rank and file who did get on those buses. One guy was saying to Siphamandla Goke, he traveled, I think, from Mpumalanga, some people traveling from Limpopo. What's in it for them if this is more about what the leadership is fighting about?
Well, Tembekile, good afternoon and afternoon to your viewers. There is nothing in it for the ordinary rank and file members. I mean, some of them are victims of the very shenanigans that have brought us to this moment. You might find that some of them in the Free State will return to homes that still have asbestos roof that has not been fixed. You might find that some of them will return to other provinces in local government settings where they are without service delivery. So there isn't much that is in it for the rank and file. But I want to caution Tembekile and say the problem is not just the rank and file. I often find that a lot of people in society tend to be mesmerized by political power or powerful figures in society, and therefore that being mesmerized turns quickly into some political hypnosis, and people start following whatever direction their liked leader says to them, their liked a comrade says to them. So it's actually quite something that is rooted in society. While the rank and file may have gone to Bloemfontein, some people who are mesmerized by Ace Magashule and others were on social media probably, venting and opposing those who have different views with them and galvanizing support in that space. So it's really a matter of where are you in the class hierarchy of society and how vulnerable are you to probably be bussed into a venue or not.
Let's go back to that main quote from Magashule today. Nobody can remove us. Only the branches, he says, have the power to remove him. How much of that is a dare to his opponents in the top 6? And do you think they would actually take him on, given the events of this week alone, on whether he steps down or not?
Well, without a doubt, there are people in the National Executive Committee that will want to see him, step aside or step down, whatever version of it. But they would want to voluntarily do it. I mean, as Karima stated, I mean, even back then, what then Deputy President Jacob Zuma did was to say, after he had been, sacked from the position of Deputy President of the country by then President Mbeki, he then voluntarily said, no, I'm stepping down as Deputy President of the ANC. And of course, Comrades said, no, that is not going to happen. We will bring you back. Safe to say, Tembekile, in the constitution of the ANC, this notion of stepping aside or stepping down is not well provided for. The only time the NEC can constitutionally ask someone to be suspended temporarily is when that person is facing formal disciplinary charges and is being hauled before the disciplinary committee of the ANC. Absent of that, anything else is just moral appeal to the individual that is concerned. So I think Magashule is trying to preempt a conversation that might take place in the NEC, that he step aside. Of course, people were very expectant of the top 6 meeting that happened earlier this week. Constitutionally, the top 6 has no power really to move such a huge message and mandate on their own. So the real structure is the National Executive Committee. I know people say the NEC is the highest decision-making body in between conference, but also the NEC must still act within the prescripts of the Constitution. And if anybody wants Magashule temporarily suspended, they must put him through the disciplinary process. And the ANC has been very reluctant to use its disciplinary processes in the last few years, opting for the Integrity Commission instead, as a moral appeal once more and almost a public relations exercise to appear to be doing something when in fact I believe they are not doing much.
Lukhona Mnguni, Karima Brown, good to pick your brains today. I'm sure we'll be chatting a lot more as we wait for that next appearance in February. Thank you.